Have you ever wondered if you're part Neanderthal? No, seriously, it's not a joke. Recent scientific discoveries have shown that Homo sapiens and Neanderthals coexisted for tens of thousands of years, and even more intriguingly, they interbred. Yes, you heard that right. Our ancestors not only killed, ate, and slept with Neanderthals, but also mated with them. In this video, we'll dive into the fascinating world of human evolution and explore whether Homo sapiens mated with Neanderthals and what the implications of this discovery are for us today. So buckle up, grab some snacks, and let's explore this incredible chapter in our history together. Despite what movies and cartoons might have you believe, modern humans and Neanderthals shared many traits. Neanderthals were stockier and had bones that were thicker, but other than that, they were compatible with modern humans. According to the findings of one study, Neanderthals are responsible for the inheritance of 4% of the genetic material found in modern humans. This study provides evidence that Neanderthals and prehistoric Homo sapiens interbred before the installation of Neanderthals and Homo sapiens around 30,000 years ago. Homo sapiens and Neanderthals likely fought and interbred in regions such as Europe and the Middle East, even though it might have been difficult to distinguish one species from another due to the high degree of genetic similarity between them. Neanderthals were much closer genetic relatives to modern humans than other primates such as chimpanzees, sharing approximately 99.7% of their DNA with us. This is in contrast to other primates such as chimpanzees. In addition, the two populations' ability to mate with one another resulted in the addition of even more Neanderthal DNA to the pool of modern human genetics. There is mounting evidence from the scientific community that Homo sapiens and Neanderthals interbred on multiple occasions and in a variety of geographic locations throughout thousands of years. This intermarriage probably started when smaller groups of Homo sapiens first ventured out of Africa more than 100,000 years ago. Around 60,000 to 65,000 years ago, larger populations of Homo sapiens began migrating out of Africa, while Neanderthals spread across the Middle East and Europe. Both of these events took place at the same time. Genetic evidence suggests that the two groups were mating by this point, although they were engaged in conflicts with one another. It is believed that Homo sapiens and Neanderthals had sexual encounters that resulted in offspring that influenced the DNA of subsequent generations of humans. As Homo sapiens spread across the globe, they occasionally interbred with other hominid species. As a consequence, the majority of contemporary humans possess a small amount of Neanderthal DNA. However, there is no evidence that sub-Saharan Africans ever interbred with Neanderthals because of how rarely they came into contact with them or interacted with them. In the beginning, researchers thought that the only time Homo sapiens and Neanderthals interbred was around 60,000 years ago when humans first began to leave Africa and move to other parts of the world like Europe and the Middle East. The existence of Homo sapien mitochondrial DNA in a Neanderthal that lived in southwest Germany 100,000 years ago has been called into question by this theory. A female human in Africa had mated with a Neanderthal male over 220,000 years ago, according to the research that was published in 2017, which finally put an end to the mystery that had been lingering for decades. This mating led to the transmission of mitochondrial DNA to an entire lineage of Neanderthals who thousands of years later may have come into contact with Homo sapiens in Europe. Even though it was a pleasurable experience at the time, genetic mixing between Neanderthals and Homo sapiens may not have been the best choice for the former. Because the Y chromosome of Homo sapiens and Neanderthals are incompatible with one another, the majority of pregnancies that resulted from the union of a Neanderthal male and a sapiens female ended in a miscarriage. Fernando Mendes, a population geneticist, discovered that mutations of the Neanderthal Y chromosome triggered an immune response in a sapiens woman. This immune response would then lead to the woman's immune system attacking the pregnancy that the woman was carrying. Because of this, it is possible that Neanderthals became extinct as a result of interbreeding with Homo sapiens and, as a result, being essentially absorbed into their group. A conflict between Homo sapiens and Neanderthals that lasted for 100,000 years could have been sparked by the expansion of Homo sapiens from Africa into Neanderthal territory in Europe and Asia. The evidence from biology and paleontology points to the fact that the two groups did not coexist peacefully, even though it is tempting to believe otherwise. Archaeological evidence of spears used for hunting large game and protection suggests that Neanderthals were likely skilled fighters and dangerous warriors. This is indicated by the fact that Neanderthals used spears. Prehistoric remains of both Homo sapiens and Neanderthals show signs of trauma to the skull and upper body, suggesting that violent conflicts occurred in the past. For example, Shanidar III, a Neanderthal who lived in Iraq approximately 50,000 years ago and was 40 years old when he died, was killed by a spear that pierced through his ribcage. It's possible that this was a spear that fired a lightweight projectile. In addition, a Neanderthal jawbone that was found in a cave in the southwest of France showed signs of having been cut with a stone tool, which indicates that the Neanderthal child was probably killed and eaten. It is believed that Neanderthals endured despite the dominance of Homo sapiens for more than 100,000 years because they possessed several advantages that were useful in daily life. To begin, they had a greater level of familiarity with the landscape than the Homo sapiens who had only recently begun to settle there. In addition, Neanderthals had muscular bodies and large eyes, both of which were advantageous in close combat and in light situations where there was little to no light. In addition, they possessed advanced technologies such as tools made of stone, the ability to construct a fire, and various cooking techniques, such as smoking, roasting, and boiling. In addition to that, they were adept at weaving, knew how to make use of medicinal plants, and had adequate abilities to navigate the seas. Despite these distinct advantages, Homo sapiens were ultimately victorious over their Neanderthal counterparts. The reason for this is not entirely clear. However, some researchers believe that it may be because Homo sapiens developed more advanced hunting strategies and weapons over time. The relatively small size of a Neanderthal population is an additional element that may have played a role in the species' demise. The Neanderthal population in Europe was very small between 38,000 and 70,000 years ago, with as few as 1,500 Neanderthals of reproductive age. This occurred between the periods of 38,000 and 70,000. It's possible that the imbalance in their population was a primary contributor to the problems that ultimately led to their extinction, along with climate change and disease. As a consequence of this, the appearance of Homo sapiens may have been the extinction event that the relatively small Neanderthal population was vulnerable to, ultimately leading to their extermination. The evolutionary paths of Neanderthals and Homo sapiens diverged approximately 5,000 years ago. However, there are no major differences between the two groups at that time. Neanderthals had larger and more robust bones than Homo sapiens, although Homo sapiens were taller. Because their bodies were constructed differently, Homo sapiens had a greater reach, while Neanderthals had a greater power. The adaptations that the Neanderthals had, such as large brow ridges and bigger noses, helped them warm large quantities of air when they lived in environments with cold temperatures. They also had genitalia that was comparable to humans. It was common practice for early Homo sapiens to engage in sexual promiscuity and interbreed with other hominids. Neanderthals were not the only hominids they interbred with, as Homo sapiens also mated with Homo erectus and Homo habilis, as well as with the Denisovans who inhabited much of Asia. Denisovan DNA has been found in the genomes of people from Oceania and East Asia up until the present day. According to recent research, interbreeding among hominid species was likely a common occurrence on a large scale, rather than a rare event. It would appear that there have been potentially thousands of incidents of this kind. It's quite an impressive number, almost as if a massive party had taken place. Interestingly, this interbreeding benefited Homo sapiens immensely in the long run. Not only did they have a diverse and satisfying sexual life, but also emerged as the dominant species, outlasting their rivals. Who would have thought that our ancestors were not only sleeping and eating with Neanderthals, but also mating with them? It's incredible to think about how this interbreeding shaped the DNA of subsequent generations of Homo sapiens. And it's amazing to see how far scientific research has come in uncovering our evolutionary history. Thank you for joining us on this journey of discovery, and we look forward to sharing more exciting scientific findings with you in the future. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button below for more content like this. See you at the next one.